Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. For over a decade, every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, we're bringing leadership to the mortgage industry. And the goal is to have the best sales meeting in the mortgage industry. Last week, we had America's #1 team leader, Shant, and he killed it, Todd. So you gotta, you always kill it, but Shant really rocked it out last week, man. Welcome, Todd.
It's good to be with you guys. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to everybody, and time to rock and roll with 2021.
No doubt. Well, guys, it would not be a Mortgage Coach January without Mr. Todd Duncan. For all you new loan officers out there, Todd is an icon in the mortgage industry. Mortgage Coach, this thing we call Mortgage Coach, if it wasn't for Sales Mastery and the platform and the community that Todd has created, there would be no Mortgage Coach. The inspiration came from me attending that event, Sales Mastery, which I've done every year, with the exception of last year because we didn't have a live event. But if you're a new loan officer, tune in, guys. This is a massive gift for you. If you are experienced, but you're just trying to go to that next level, it's going to be a massive gift for you. And if you're America's best loan officer, Sean, I hope you're watching this. There's going to be some next level improvements for everybody in this. So one last thing I want to set the stage with. When Todd and I were talking and we had a little prep call about what are we going to do today, I will tell you guys, Todd's never been more fired up. He's never been more confident that he has something that the industry needs right now. So I know the marketing post that we put out there was pretty bold, and it also put a call to action to include your realtors. But I know this is going to be amazing. So Todd, welcome, my brother.
Dave, great to be here, man. Good to hang out with you as always. And it's very exciting to watch the impact that Mortgage Coach has had on this industry and the tens of thousands of people that have changed the lives of millions of home buyers using just an idea that you brought to the market. And it's always exciting to be with you. Always exciting.
Well, it's a gift. And Todd, you'll be proud to know because you have been on this journey with me from day one. But the mortgage total cost analysis was created 1.7 million times in 2021. So that's a lot of families getting a TCA. And it was clicked on and viewed by borrowers and realtors 5.5 million times. So man, we're changing how people get into debt in America. And then of course you're changing how loan officers build amazing careers. And he's making a lot of impact, brother.
Yeah. Good.
So what do you got today, man? What is the message?
Well, I'm gonna start with something that I did not even have on my radar when I was preparing for this. But yesterday afternoon at 2:18 p.m., I got a text from one of our clients. His name is John, and I thought it'd be important to start the call off reading what he sent to me, and I want to share it with you because I think it magnifies the importance of what we're going to talk about today. So again, this is 2:18 yesterday, which was the 25th or so, 26th?
Yeah, 25th. Today's the 26th.
Yeah, so the text starts off, Todd, doctor told me today that I'm near the end. My liver's failing. There's nothing they can do. Weeks, maybe months if I'm lucky. You've been such a huge influence for me. My family's in a very good position with the house almost paid off, money in the bank, and insurance will take care of them. I just wanted to say, we all get 86,400 seconds a day. Nobody tells us how many days. Don't waste them. And that's from a guy that's battling cancer in a very significant way. It's a guy that was a top loan officer, a guy that's got a wife and 2 kids that are 18 and 15. And I've watched him fight. And what he has said all the way along is that what we're going to talk about today is the most important thing we can ever talk about. And that's what he learned. And that's why his life has been purposeful, even in having the battle for his life. So I thought I would set the tone that this gift that we have, which is called life, should not be marginalized. It should not be compromised. It should not be given to the forces of things that we can control to create a better life experience. And most certainly as mortgage professionals and real estate professionals, this gift of time is the most important gift that we're ever going to have. And as we watch people win in the marketplace, winning is being redefined. Winning is about impact. It's not about hours on the job. Winning is about value. It's not about how much marketing you send out. Winning is about connection. It doesn't take a lot of relationships. It just takes a few of the right ones. And so I got really clear over the last year that there's 5 things that every successful loan rep does and every successful realtor does consistently as the backbone in their business that allows them to achieve the ROI from the most important exchange rate that you'll ever know in your life. And that's what we want to talk about today. So the importance of this dialogue, Dave, is huge. Absolutely huge.
Wow. Well, I mean, that story was amazing. And I think it gets us all in the right space to like, how do we make the most of every day? And how do we make the most of this? Guys, this is an important presentation. If you are multitasking, stop multitasking. If you are watching this at Facebook, if you are watching this in Zoom and you have a question or a takeaway and you want to add to the mastermind that we're having, bring it. I will be following both channels and we will have some time for your questions. So Todd, what do we got? What are the 5 irrefutable principles of high performers?
So let's start off with a guiding kind of direction. Okay. So beyond anything else, this is the big idea for everybody in business. This guy was an efficiency theorist. He lived in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Name is Harrington Emerson. And what Harrington Emerson said about efficiency is that as to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are few. The man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods. The man who tries methods ignoring principles is sure to have trouble. My experience has been too many LOs and too many realtors are trying too many methods to try to be successful, but they're not following principles, Dave. And the principles are dyed in the wool, line in the sand. You can't argue with the principle. This program is called Irrefutable Principles, which means the principles cannot be ignored, they cannot be disproven, and they cannot be swept aside, because whether you like it or not, these principles are governing how you perform in the marketplace. So I always love speaking to the mortgage coach audience because I always think that you are dialed in beyond most. But I don't want to make the assumption that even being good at total cost analysis and being in the mortgage coach community means that you understand these principles. So the first principle that we want to talk about has to do with an exchange rate. And this is why I read the text that I read to you. And the top exchange rate as a business owner, and whether you're a real estate broker, a branch manager, a regional manager, a CEO of a mortgage company, a loan originator, obviously, the most important exchange rate that you and I measure, and the most important thing that we are always determining, is what is our labor going in and what is our income going out. And if you get nothing else from our hour together, that is the exchange rate that matters most to give you a life experience that is balanced, that is intentional, and that is purposeful. And far too often, this principle is ignored. I decided this morning to go to Indeed.com and Glassdoor, and I was just checking out loan officer salaries. This was updated January 25th, 2021. And it says that that the average base pay for an LO in America is $46,094. And so we look at that and we start to look at the impact of that in exchange of presumably a 40-hour work week. And that number is a hugely crucial number because the idea behind exchange rate and the idea behind time in and revenue out has to do with watching that number grow. And if we're going to trade time, which is the gift that is the most important gift we've ever had, and we're going to trade that time for labor, what we must do is understand that labor has to result in more productivity, more output. That's the sense of the principle. It also means that, you know, the idea of how much are you worth is really critical to watching the answer to that number go up. And that answer is not only a financial number, how much are you worth, but more importantly, it is how much worth are you bringing to the marketplace in exchange for the revenue that you're bringing out. So I show this to you because you have to understand that the $46,000 a year for the highest producers is $46,000 a month. And for the super high producers, it's $46,000 every 2 weeks. And for the top earners, $4,000 an hour, it's $46,000 a week. And so you start to look at that and you start to realize, what do I do to make that happen? Okay. So Lisa from Synergy One said this. She said, I went from being a stressed out, underpaid mortgage loan officer earning $32 an hour to earning over $740 an hour in just 10 months because of high trust coaching. She got what I just said to you. She got the idea that I'm working my tush off. I'm giving my life force up. I'm giving all of this to the business and I'm making $32 an hour. The Glassdoor number on the previous slide was $23 an hour. And in just 10 months, she went to $740 an hour. How did she do that? I'm going to share with you the 5 principles. Jim, who's a real estate client of ours, real estate broker, said using this methodology, he took his real estate business from $8 million a year to $40 million a year. And you start to think about that and you start to realize that, okay, what's the magic behind this? What happens if I can 7X or 8X or 4X or 10X my revenue? What happens is you get principle number 1. And this is principle number 1. Principle number 1 simply states that everything can be improved. And I don't think for a moment anybody watching us can argue with that. Anything and everything can be improved. So I thought what I would do is I would just show an example of this. I would encourage you to figure out what it is that you really do need to improve, because the next 4 principles after this first one, Dave, are the ones that make the first one work. You can have the first principle, but if you don't know the other 4, principle number 1 doesn't have impact. And if you know principle number 1 and you have the other 4, then this is the kind of stuff you can do. So without getting weighed down, this is an example of a screenshot of one of our students that is in high trust coaching. And you can see at the top of the business plan platform that we have 6 variables. We have an income variable, we have a commission variable, we have number of pre-qual referrals per real estate partner, per business partner. We have an average loan amount in the top right. We have a pre-qual conversion rate to a TRID-triggered submission to processing, and then we have a pull-through rate. And those 6 are variables, right? And so the important number is this person's individual pre-qual conversion rate to a TRID-triggered loan to processing was 17%. So let's say that we're sitting down and we're saying, okay, everything can be improved. So if everything can be improved, what one of these numbers would you want to improve? And this guy said, I want to improve my conversion number. You could easily improve the number of referrals you get per client. You could easily improve the acceleration of your average loan amount by looking at different markets. You can obviously improve your pull-through rate by having different customer service-centric kind of thinking and communication and so on and so forth. And you most certainly can improve your income goal, right? So what we end up doing is we end up saying, okay, so if we're going to improve everything and we want to improve conversion, what does that look like financially? Again, back to what the big idea is: labor in, money out, labor in, money out. You never want to be at the end of a week or a month and realize that you lost a lot of revenue because you weren't purposeful and you weren't intentional. And so if we take this and we say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to spend a year improving the conversion rate. That's it. Why you need TCA mastery, why you need financial literacy mastery, why you need advice literacy mastery is because that improves conversion. Why you need trust training is because that improves conversion. Why you need script training is because that improves conversion. When you work with your referral partners and you role play the handoff, why do you do that? Because it improves conversion. The number one thing you need to do, in my mind, is adapt and develop the skill set so that that number 17 can go to 18, can go to 19, can go to 20, and you can take it to wherever you want. So the payoff for us is, without looking at any of the other numbers, we go to the guy and we sit down and we say, so at your current conversion rate, all other metrics being the same, you're making $31,000 a month. Okay, so you can see that halfway down the screen in the middle on the left. You can see in the top right, we're going to improve your conversion rate by 20%. So we're going to take your total conversion rate to 37%. And so at 37%, you can see that his monthly income goes from 31,000 to 67,000. And the question now has to be asked, all things being the same, work hours, okay, commissions, referrals per client, income goal, all things being the same, the only thing you change, because principle one says everything can be improved, is your conversion mastery. And now you end up with an extra $36,000 a month in revenue. So the question becomes then, what do I do with that revenue? What am I able to do with that revenue? You're able to recalibrate the life labor balance wheel, which is what I opened with. You're able to, without working an extra hour, you're able to exercise out of your current methodologies and level of skill. You're able to increase your conversion rate to a point where you're going to be able to, over 5 years, save an extra $2.5 million. Over 10 years at the bottom, you're able to save almost $6 million. And we get back to the text from my friend John. And we have to ask the question, is the life in the business working? That's the question that has to be asked. And we had a great year in the mortgage business last year, right? Pennies from heaven, loans everywhere. You know, the market's going to change this year. We're going to see refis drop. Rates are probably going to go up a little bit, maybe more, who knows? But the idea is not how many hours you work. The idea is, what is your productivity per hour? And so what you have to do, while this is one of about 50 different things you could do to really improve mastery on the job, the reason you're improving mastery on the job is so that you can achieve mastery off the job. And most people get that the wrong way. Most people are so busy working and sustaining the simple labor that is required to go into a business that they are compromising and they are marginalizing life. And at the end, I got to tell you, the only thing that's going to stack up there is, I wish I had. And so part of this is regret management. Part of this is intentional purpose management. Part of this is, I am not going to let the business run me. I'm going to run it. I'm not going to shape my labor to my income. My income is going to be decided, and then the labor is going to become efficient. And that's what we have to do. And so you guys have to ask yourself a question and maybe put it in the chat window. Like, what is your list? We just use one example on this idea that everything can be improved, but what do you want to improve? What makes the most sense for you to improve? I mean, where do you have anxiety? Where do you have stress? Where do you do the same things repeatedly and not see the growth? You know, are you on your way to $1,000 an hour? Are you on your way to $2,000 an hour? I talked with one of our elite coaches yesterday, and he gave me all his math, and he averaged 27 hours a week last year, and he made $2.7 million. So, you know, when you look at the idea of, this is my life, if I give my business an hour and I don't make whatever that is, and you have to start with a number, you have to start to say, what is my X factor? I am not going to ever let the business control me. I want to control the business, and I want to be able to pull out of the business what the business is prepared to give me through this idea that everything can be improved, including 100% mastery on TCAs. I mean, you think about that. So it's a big deal, Dave. And you know, I'll just remind everybody that I want to make this really profound for you. So if you go to my website, toddduncan.com/coaching, and all you do is scroll down a little bit, you'll see this playbook. It's a 25-page playbook. You can download it, no strings attached. We want to give it to you free. We want you to download this so that you can use it for you and your team, and we'd like your real estate agents to download it so that you and they have a plan together on what can we improve. How can we go about improving the way we work together? How can we improve our business planning meetings? How can I help you become more efficient and help you win? How can I help you get higher conversion rates with listings and sales? How can you? And if you go through this and you do a principle a week, and then you collaborate for a week and do another principle for a week and collaborate for a week, by the time March is over, you're going to have a 10-week experience with your key agents and business partners. And you're going to be able to scale business in a way that is meaningful and remarkable. I don't want anybody to miss the idea that the reason this is principle number one is because it is the principle you must start with. Everything can be improved. And it's not designed to give you an overwhelming sense of opportunity, although it will, but everything can be improved. So the job you and I have is to figure out what are the most important things we improve, and how do we measure their improvement? And how do we do that in such a way that the hours the day gives us are not marginalized or compromised? And how can we be highly productive without being OCD and overkilling kind of the way we are producing? How do we get rhythm, and how do we get efficiency so that we can spin up the dollars we make per hour for the time we're giving the job? And then that cascades into the balancing factor. And in the best cases, you look back and you say, I'm glad I made that decision. I'm glad I made that decision to go from $32 an hour to $740 an hour. Because right now I'm never going back. And once you get there, you can see the exchange rate. You can see that the more financial cushion you have, the more freedom you have. And the reason why financial literacy and financial management and financial investing, the reason why all that's important is because you need to watch over the course of your life, removing seasons that sometimes happen like COVID. You need to be in a position where you are moving the needle on everything that's important by design, so that life continues to give you more of the experience it was designed to give you, and you achieve wealth and health in a way that is amazing. So Dave, that's number one. And it's huge.
So it's beyond huge. So before we go on, stop sharing your screen for just a second. Mortgage coach community, I want you to do two things. One, Todd and I want to know at least some sound bites from your list. So whether you're watching this in Zoom, whether you're watching this Facebook group, what are some things that are on your list? And remember, there you could just say lead conversion. Todd and I both believe that it's super important to make the pivot to purchase. Like, rate and term refis are still here. That's still an option. And maybe it's like, how do we do them faster and even more effective? But with a pivot to purchase, remember, it's not just conversion. You're talking to people at TBD. You're trying to improve your TBD pull-through rate. Are you trying to improve your ratings? What are you trying to improve right now? Are you trying to upgrade your real estate agents? Are you trying to add more real estate agents? Let us know. So right now, Todd, I am seeing lead conversion, follow-up. Can I get a copy of those slides? Yeah, we'll get you a copy of those slides. Let's see what we got in our other channel here. We have better delegation, prospecting, lead gen, follow-up. Love it. By the way, we just put a link to Todd's deck. So guys, it's never been more important that you're present. Like, get present now. We all need to practice presence. We all need to practice true curiosity with the clients that we serve. And then, of course, you got to ask great questions with presence and curiosity. And you need to give people a plan. Again, that is the total cost analysis. The best of the best, use it. But what's more important than that is the consistency. If you're not delivering this consistent presentation every time, you can't be the best of the best. So one more time, and for those of you that forget, we'll show it to you. But if you go to toddduncan.com/coaching and scroll down, a lot of good information. And guys, I always recommend people, this 30-minute coaching session, you're going to get value from that. Just having a conversation with one of Todd's coaches will be valuable for you. But we'll talk about that more as we wrap things up. I want to make sure you guys all know how to get the download. Scroll down a little more than halfway through, far right here, these principles. That's where you get this playbook. Go here, download that before this is up, because if you don't be present right now, if you don't at least check out the book, this is edutainment. And we want you to get more than edutainment. We want to make meaningful change for you guys. So go to those links, check it out, take a few minutes, just jot down, don't spend more than a minute. What's on your list? I want to know right now. And then I can already tell you guys, I'm going to be assigning at the end of this, schedule 30 minutes, schedule an hour today or tomorrow, and make sure your comprehensive list that you know what are the things that you want to improve on. When I interviewed Sean last week, he wanted to improve his ability to scale. He wanted to improve the experience and the value that his consumers were getting. And that's why he is adopting Mortgage Coach at a team level, because he was really clear. I want to scale beyond where I'm at, which mind-boggling. And I want to deliver the consumers that I serve an even better experience. And I want to make sure every loan officer on my team can deliver that. But what do you want to do? Todd, anything you want to say before we get on to number 2?
I love the amount of people that are talking about agents and reconnecting and adding more agent value and so on and so forth. And I just want to say to everybody, this list and why we're suggesting that you need to decide is that there's no relief from this principle. The stuff that you know you could improve, should improve, and must improve, ignored, will continue to rise up in your contemplation about what should be improved and what I can't no longer ignore. And so the principles are active. They don't stop. If you've ever had a day where you have had some rough calls and you've had some left turns instead of right turns, I mean, the principle is going to be right there. How can I improve this? And so, the eye of the master will do more than both of his hands. And the idea behind observation and these principles is hugely, hugely important. So let me pop in. I'll reshare.
So one more thing. I wanted to let anybody who's watching this on Facebook, I did want you to know that the Zoom community is kicking your butt. We got a whole lot more comments from them than you. So, and remember, comments are valuable to everyone. And I also want to shine a light on this awesome comment from Elizabeth. She said what she wants to work on: say no to the time suck and less productive agents, tactfully with respect. So Elizabeth, love that thing to work on. And I know a lot of people learn to say no better. So Todd, I'll give it to you for number 2 and anything else you want to add.
Well, I'm just going to say on this saying no thing, I mean, that's how you clear the deck for the ability to say yes. And, you think about that text that I read you at the start of our call about a guy that has weeks, maybe less than a month to live. And you got to realize there's not going to be any glory looking back if that is your plight, to say, man, I'm so glad I worked with a bunch of realtors that were a pain in the ass. It's just not going to happen. And so this life needs to be oriented around real choice. I mean, choice of what you want to do. You and I are responsible for the environments in which we exist. And life will give us 100% what we tolerate, including business people that don't get it. And there's so much business to do with the right people that the faster you clear the decks and you lay the boundary down, 2 things happen. You develop more self-respect. Loan officers that work with people that they don't respect become disrespected. And you will feel unrespected in your own soul if you're letting other people rob you of this life force. So that's it. Let's hit number 2, and I'm going to come back on and then we can go from there. Second principle is success can only be built on failure. And this is a very, very profound principle. And it's a principle that you can see immediately ties to principle number 1. If everything can be improved, principle 1, then I've got to do something differently in principle 2. And if what I'm going to do in principle 2 is not a habit and it's not a skill, and I haven't achieved some level of mastery of that, there's an odds-on chance that the success that I want will not be there immediately. And that if I don't have an appreciation for this principle, I will give up and I will let up and I will not go up as a result of that. And so when we look at this, we look at a very interesting kind of just parallel, right? And so if there were not such a thing as day, you could not have such a thing as night. And if we didn't have night, there would be no day. And so you have this symbiotic relationship between these two things. If we take fast and we look at slow, we see a symbiotic relationship. We understand that there's no such thing as fast if there weren't such a thing as slow. Loud, soft, happy, sad, you can see the parallels, right? And I think far too many people don't understand the relationship between success and failure. And if we're going to play at level 10, and if you truly do want to answer the question, how much am I worth? You're going to have to see how you grow that outcome by being good with the pain of learning how to do things right, so that you can have the victory of the payoff of doing those things right. And depending on how you want to grow, depending on how you want to and what you want to improve, if you don't have a healthy appetite towards this, then it's really easy to acquiesce. It's really easy to give up your standard, to give up some of the boundaries. It's really easy to default into behaviors that aren't productive. And so what we know about this particular principle, Dave, is that everything we're not doing because we either don't know it or we're not good at it. And there's a principle that follows this one that's going to be really important, but far too many people do not understand the relationship between failure and success. And they try to avoid failure in their pursuit of being successful, when in fact they should embrace failure and have more of it. The more failure we have, the more we don't do things the right way, the more we don't make a good call on a realtor, or the more we don't have a right conversation with a borrower, theoretically, the better you should get at that if you're observing. When I was becoming a private pilot, I tell this story a lot. The one thing that I had a hard time doing was landing. And, flying a plane is easy. Taking off is easy. Going anywhere you want to go is easy once you understand the mechanics of flight and the aerodynamics and navigation, those types of things. But at some point, you're either going to run out of gas or you need to land. And I remember landing was really scary. I've never done it. I wasn't good at it, and it became very, very clear to me that this is a life or death situation. So if I'm going to be a pilot, I got to be really good at flying. I got to be really good at situational awareness, but I got to be really good at landing. And I've got to have situational awareness and judgment. And I gotta understand it's going to be ugly until it gets good. Just like a new conversation, a new high trust dialogue with a borrower could be ugly before it gets really good. You look at your community, Dave, and we share so many of the same clients. And you look at some of the poster children for TCA and scripting and questions and Q&A. And all these guys 10 years ago were not anywhere near as good as they are today, but they understood this. And so it took my instructor watching me land 77 times before I got certified that I could pass the exam to actually land an airplane. 77 failed landings at some level, right? They just weren't all the right type. So we have to understand this. And I think it's important to realize what would you do? Here's a chat question. What would you do if your perception around failure changed? I mean, what would you do if your perception around trying something new, what would you do? And so load that up. I mean, what is getting in the way? Well, what is holding you back? What is the relationship between you knowing you need to be better at something, which is the improvement principle, and actually being better at it? It's a good dialogue. What do we got in the panel?
Let us know, guys. And I always think of this as like the pain of change. No matter what you're doing, you have to go through a little pain to get on the other side of that change. And again, being Mr. Mortgage Coach, I'm always helping people adopt Mortgage Coach, but it could be a CRM, the change of no. You got to get past that pain of change. So I would love to know prospecting. I think that's always for loan officers that are killing it in elite. It's not a pain of change they need to get over. Like, they have built the calluses to do it. They are addicted to getting in the prospecting they need to do to get it. But for loan officers that aren't at the elite status they want, often it's just building more calluses and be willing to fail forward. So let us know. We got confidence to do things I'm avoiding. Mindset is holding me back.
Yep.
Anything you want to call out here, Todd?
No, I think it's interesting when we look at confidence, okay, have more confidence to do the things we are avoiding. One of the great things about what Brian posts there is that is a big deal. I was not confident the first time I tried to land a plane. Now I'm guarded, but I'm very confident. I can land a plane almost in any circumstance. So what is it in the business world? What is it in the life world? What is it that we don't have a healthy perspective around failure? And it's more than just failing forward. It's more than just saying, I'm going to eat my Wheaties and I'm going to be failure ready today. It is to understand you can't have success without failure. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. And so what is it that we need to get out of the way? What is it that we need to be game ready at? How much practice do we need to put into whatever it is we're trying to get better at? And when you understand this, I'm going to tell you, you don't have to do as much as you're doing now. If you're game ready and you're practice ready and you have a healthy appetite towards failure, you actually can do less and earn more. And that's the key to the free coaching call. That's the key to what we do in high trust coaching. We are not interested in helping you go from 40 hours a week to 60 hours a week. We're interested in helping you go from 40 hours a week to 30 hours a week to 20 hours a week and doubling, tripling, and quadrupling revenue. And if you choose to work 40 hours a week, then you can quintuple it. You can go from that 3-figure an hour to that 4-figure an hour to, in some cases, if you land a huge client in a 1-hour meeting and they've got 3,000 people in their database, that could be a $25,000 an hour win right there. So you gotta have this. You gotta have the attitude towards failure. And I'm gonna pick up where Brian left off. Dave, do you have anything else to say?
No, let's rock it out. I want to make sure we spend plenty of time on all of these.
Yeah, so check this out. So the third, Brian, the third idea is emotional connection deepens trust and expedites conversion. So here's what we need to understand. And in this playbook that you're going to download, I have designed 3 never produced scripts before. And these scripts are designed to help you with this idea of emotional connection, deepening trust, and expediting conversion. What we need to understand is that in the world in which we live and in the world in which Mortgage Coach was founded, the idea of bridging advice to lifestyle, the idea of taking the key elements of emotional connection and really understanding how to ask the questions you haven't asked so you can learn the things you've never learned, so you can solve the things you've never solved, is what brings the emotional connection alive. What people don't really understand, and this gets back to some of the other posts on working with people that I shouldn't be working with, is the idea that people don't understand the 3 key principles of an emotionally connected relationship. So let me just tell you what they are right now. You can unpack them in the ebook when you download it. But the first thing that allows a relationship to be deep, and a deeper relationship is what causes conversion. The thing that is essential to having a deep relationship is the word chemistry. And I'm going to give you a term we know off the job, and I'm going to ask you to apply it on the job. What does that mean? It means that if fundamentally I don't like you and you don't like me, in an extreme example, no matter what we do to try to do business together, it's not going to happen. And because it's a varying dial, right? There's going to be circumstances right now. You could pick people right now, like you wake up in the morning and you've got some realtors that you work with. You wake up in the morning and there's a group that you really like, and then there's a group you don't really like. And the group you don't really like takes most of your time, and the group you really like needs and wants more of your time. So if I don't like you and you don't like me, and we are not attracted because of shared values and goals and vision and so on, that ought to stop right now. That's insane to continue to produce in a relationship like that where you don't love that other person. Same thing with borrowers. How do you develop this kind of shared chemistry? Chemistry is attraction. Borrowers need to be attracted to you. You need to be attracted to them. Emotional connection is what gets people attracted because it is the not standard way to do it. It's all about numbers, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful if it's all about numbers, because that gets in the way of the relationship. But if we have chemistry, okay, now listen to this. If we have chemistry, we can improve the efficiency of a relationship to not require 5 hours a month, but we could get everything done in 1 hour a month if we have chemistry. If we don't have chemistry, then it's going to take more and more time to get the same thing done. If we have chemistry, then what has to happen next is we have to have this idea of connection. And connection is the questions that we ask. And I got a thing from Matt Clark the other day, who's the CEO of a mortgage company on the East Coast. And Matt said that one of the most powerful lessons he is learning in 2021, coming out of 2020, is the types of questions he asks. And so when you think about connection and you think about connection is built on chemistry, if I ask the right questions, then I get the third C, which is collaborate. And every relationship that you have and that I have is a relationship that requires collaboration. If I can, and you can, and we can collaborate, then we win together. And when we win together, we do business well together. And I think far too often, Dave, especially coming out of 2020, we've kind of lost the edge. You know, our skills have gotten a little bit soft on realtor dialogues and things like that. But I need people to trust the principle. The principle is very simple. If I like you and you like me, we can do business together. And if I don't like you and you don't like me, we better not do business together. And I got to tell you, and I think many of your community, our community, is going to agree with this. Take one person that you've done business with that you don't have chemistry with, and you're still doing business with them, and just ask, how many hours do I give this person? And what do I get in return? Branch managers, you can ask the same thing about your LOs. If you don't have chemistry with an LO on your team, you're not going to lead very well. And it's not going to be fair to them or fair to you. And so when you think about this and you think about the idea of that first slide that I showed you when we were doing the metrics and improving conversion, ask deeper questions. Ask deeper questions. Ask deeper questions. And you will have more attraction in the marketplace. It's super straightforward. So thoughts on that?
I do have thoughts on that. And I love that, guys. So I just put a link to a Todd Duncan total cost analysis because it's got some scripting in it that will be helpful for you. So check that out. But to get tactical, I'm just going to share one tactical idea. I love what you said, Todd. And the best loan officers go beyond the transaction. So when you think of, you're trained. Everybody on this call, if you're brand new, maybe you don't know the transactional questions, but there's transactional questions. And then there are relational questions. And guys, then there are transformational questions that create wow. And one of those questions is ask a family, how old do you want to be when your home's paid off and you're debt free? And ask it with curiosity and humble. And I really want to know, because guys, the American dream is, yes, it's a home, but it's not a home with a mortgage. It's a home with no mortgage, or a home with a mortgage. And it's just a strategic tax planning thing. And I've got enough money to pay it off whenever I want, but it's financial freedom. So start making sure, whether you're new in the business experience, start asking people, when do you want to have your home paid off? And then asking them, and what are your goals about building wealth with real estate? You know, do you want to own a second home? Do you want to, you're buying a first home, when do you want to buy that dream home? Go beyond the transaction. That's what the best of the best do. Of course, use the total cost analysis to visualize it. But remember, it's not about the technology. It's about visualizing the answers to the questions so that you're personalizing things for the family. So Todd, I want to make sure we get plenty of time for your next two questions. Anything you want to add to that, or you want to get into the next one?
I want to add to the idea that you just brought up. I want to add, emotional connection is not something you do to somebody. Emotional connection is from the heart, and you lead with the heart. And so I would add to your question, like, when do you want to have your home paid off? That's a great question. And then I'd like to add to that, when it is paid off, Why would that be important to you? What would that give you, or what would that do for you? And you're going to hear words like freedom, serenity, peace of mind. And all of a sudden the business then moves from just business stuff to more important deep stuff, like that is why I want to do it. And anything that we ask, if we can put that simple question in there, why is that important to you? And what will that give you? That is going to take a relationship deeper much more quickly. So just a thought there. So
I love that. Hey, one more thing, because I just remembered, I don't know if Rene Rodriguez shared this on Sales Mastery, but one of the things I learned from him, just another little nugget for everybody, is don't try to be liked, try to like them. Like if you like that client and you put your intention on liking them, they're going to like you. So just another thought as it pertains to principle number 3.
Yeah. And again, just taking it back to a dating relationship, if you could think back to romance and romancing, clients and using that in a way that has that same kind of like, I mean, I had real estate agents that I woke up in the morning and I could not wait to call them. I could not wait to have conversation with them. And I had others that were difficult. And that's just the truth of the business. And we've got to decide how much we're worth. And am I worth more by having boundaries on how I do business with people that are high maintenance? Am I worth more in my own psyche if I don't have somebody abusing me and using me and running me? And the answers in extreme levels are, yeah, you are better off. Our self-worth has a lot to do with what we achieve in business and who we achieve it with. And if you feel good about that, then you're on the right track. But if you ever in that moment have in your mind, like, why am I still doing business with this person? That is a really big signal that no matter what you do, it's going to be really hard to like them, because it's not good or wrong or bad or right. It's truth, right? Here's principle number 4, and this is what Brian brought up as well. And this you can see how these counterbalance, right? The first principle, everything can be improved. And then the second principle is success can only be built on failure. So in principle 4, what ends up happening is competence leads to confidence, and confidence leads to consistency. The number one thing that we do in coaching is we measure consistently the skills that you have that impact the 5 major things that we track. We track total calls a day. We track database calls and referral partner calls. We track the combination of those calls into how many loans go into processing as a triggered submission. And then we track number 5, what percentage of those loans closed. And we then marry the skill to making sure those numbers are going up. So obviously, if you want to be really good at conversion, you got to be competent at a dialogue that facilitates conversion. If you're not competent at a dialogue that creates conversion, you won't do the dialogue because you don't have the confidence. Now, here's what's really interesting. When confidence doesn't exist, the effort and the execution also doesn't exist, or it's marginalized. So it's interesting how many people think that like the key is just to do more of something. Like that might be like in that whole chat window, prospecting. Well, if you say that prospecting is something that you would do more of if you had a different attitude towards failure, what that is telling us is you don't have competence and confidence in prospecting. So if you don't have competence and you don't have confidence, you won't have consistency. I go back to Zig Ziglar, and a good friend of mine, he's passed away about eight years ago. And Zig used to say, like, prospecting is like taking a bath. If you don't do it every day, pretty soon you'll stink. And the reason it's funny to hear that, prospecting is like taking a bath. If you don't do it every day, pretty soon you'll stink. But the painful part of that is if you stink, you'll prospect the wrong people or you won't prospect at all. And so even in the flying example, in anything we do, if we have confidence, and this is why skill mastery and why coaching is so important. If I can get skill mastery around a few of the deep disciplines that really matter, like prospecting the very best, assuming there's a values match, are you working with the #1 realtor in your city? Are you working with the top 10 realtors in your city? And if not, why not? And that's a huge question, because chances are you will do business with the people that match the level of confidence you have. So to gain confidence allows you to do business with fewer people that do more business and have a deeper relationship. But if you're not good at it, you'll lower your standard to the level of your skill. So if my skill is at 5 and 10 is the best, I'm going to call on realtors that are a 5. If my skill is a 4, I'm going to call on realtors that are a 4. If my skill is a 9, I'm going to call on realtors that are a 9. And that's the importance here. So practice rules. That's why TCAs and just being overtrained, just game ready. That's why having conversations, you shouldn't have to make it up on the fly. You should know what you're going to do. You should figure out how to land before you crash. These are all like, the principle is huge. If I'm good at it, like for example, I was talking with somebody the other day and the question was, how do I move from an hour conversation with a borrower to a 15-minute conversation with a borrower and improve my conversion? That's a huge question. That's a principle-centered question. You know how you do it? You ask fewer questions that have bigger impact, and all you have to do is hook them on that, and then the rest is history. We don't have to, who said we have to spend an hour doing this? If you're really, really good, you could get it done in 15 minutes. You could get it done in 10 minutes. I have one of our elite persons who last year closed 725 loans, and it's about 15 minutes a deal. And he creates enough value and enough equity in that conversation where then it's just passed off and he's off to the races. And I just need you to understand, like the greatest gift you could give yourself is how good are you? If you go back to that same toddduncan.com/coaching page, there's actually a diagnostic you could download and take an x-ray of yourself, take an x-ray of your business skills and ask yourself, where am I not good? And why do, and where do, and how fast do I need to get better? Because then the fifth principle kicks into gear. And the fifth principle is accountability is more important than action. Everybody has proven that action alone is not what creates success. Right action is what creates success. Not a lot of actions, but right action. Any person that will talk to you, including myself, about high performance will tell you these 4 principles so far, okay? Everything can be improved. Success can only be built on failure. Emotional connection deepens trust and accelerates conversion. Okay, competence is more important than anything because that leads to consistency. And even then, you're going to need somebody to help you, manager, another LO, a professional coach, which we offer. You got to have somebody that keeps you on the right track. I was on a session last Tuesday. I'm going to jump on this session at 10:15 today. I have 4 assignments from last week that I have to unveil for the group that I'm going to be with. And it's accountability. I'm not going to show up to that call and not be able to unveil the 4 things. And so the question that you have to ask in all things is, do I have the accountability, either self-induced, professionally partnered with, maybe in meditation and prayer, you have that connection to what's really important to you, and that gives you accountability. Maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your wife or your partner. Nothing good has ever been done without more than one person trying to do it. There's always somebody that can help accelerate the results we're getting. So Dave, the 5 principles are just, we could talk for all day on this. And when you read the ebook, guys, you're going to have a lot of action plans that are going to come out of that. But I just, I think that if I go back to my friend John, who's in the last days of his life, I would never want anybody in the mortgage coach community or in the universe to ever get to a point where you wish you had done things differently. And I'm just going to tell you this, there's a million ways you can make money in the mortgage business, but the 5 principles are never going to change. They're just not going to change. And so that's what we have to pay attention to as we kind of wrap up our time.
So guys, I don't remember the exact Google search I did a few weeks ago. It might've been top things that create personal joy and happiness. But I was doing some research for a talk that I was doing, and it was all about, like, what are the things that create top pleasure, just make you happy. And a few of them didn't surprise me. Like, this is right off of Google. Watch big games and do things that you believe in. Fun times with friends. Travel. I'm like, yeah, all those, and traveling with friends. Boom. Guys, here was number 4. Being productive. That gives you joy. That makes you confident. And it's just this perpetual thing. And if you are not being productive, you do need a coach. You do need accountability. You need to do something different. Let's just put it that way. If you are not entirely pumped with where you're at today, something's got to change. And I do know that when you get personal clarity, you get accountability partners, you get coaches, that is a path to change. And I interview loan officers all the time. And another common theme with all the people I interview, they have a coach and they are a coach. You know, it's like this circle. So guys, check out the link. Remind everybody the link, Todd. And we have a link down below. Like, if you're watching the recording, there's a link down below. But remind everybody.
ToddDuncan.com/coaching. And
so the other
just scroll through the page, and there's a lot of free downloads you can use there. We can set up a coaching call with you for 30 minutes, no cost, and see if there's a way that we can help you win. And you know, at the end of the day too, Dave, I don't know if anybody has seen it, but we're in the last days of a 21-day campaign. It's called 2020 Gave Me. And in the 2020 Gave Me campaign, I outline 21 gifts that 2020 gave me. And they're short, they're 5, 6, 7-minute videos. And they fall into, Dave, what you just began to bring up at the end. And that is that the gifts of life, the gifts of growth, the gifts of surrender, the gifts of attitude. You know, we had a lot of people in the chat window talk about the importance of mindset. These 5 to 8 minute videos are designed to be meditative. Do it every morning. Have a question of the day that you might want to answer, because Dave, that list is a huge list, and we deserve to architect happiness in our life. We deserve to architect peace of mind in our life. We deserve to architect a different life experience. And the gifts are gifts, the gift of life. I mean, we have the gift of life, and we don't know when that gift of life is going to be snuffed out. So what do we do, and how intentional we are is crucial. So, man, we could go on forever, but that's my message.
We could. Well, guys, make sure you follow Todd's podcast. I am super proud of the Facebook group we have. Todd has an incredible Facebook group with lots of love, lots of content that you should be putting into your head if you want to be your best. Also, I'm going to give you the closing thought, Todd, but my closing thought, guys, is everything you just heard was critical to you as a mortgage professional being your best. And everything you just heard was critical to your referral partners, your realtors. And, you know, while we did this in the Mortgage Coach channel, and I know there are realtors watching this is going to be on YouTube. So you're going to be able to take this on YouTube, share it with your agents, network and partner with your agents, download that book that Todd told you about and read it. You know, like, it's 20 pages. And, you know, when Todd Duncan does something, it's like pure quality, super thoughtful, 20 pages of value. Read that, do this. And then I hope you guys have it inspires a meeting. It inspires a lunch and learn with some of your agents. Todd, I'll give you the final word to wrap up today's session.
I would just challenge every one of you that if you believe that you can improve the way you work with realtors, I would not only go through this document tonight, I'd probably read it in the next hour. And then I decide what 2, 3, 4, 5 agents do you want to sit down with, have them get a downloaded copy of this, and have them and you work together. Because I'm telling you right now, to Dave, to your point, I mean, everything can be improved, including every human being can improve his or her life experience. So the greatest joy that this ebook is going to produce for you is you're going to be on the same page as your agents, and you're going to be working on the same things together. If you're a branch manager, have every one of your LOs download this. It's going to make your job as a leader a lot easier, because you want your LOs to follow these 5 principles as well. And then just keep rereading the playbook. And Dave, I'm grateful for you, man. I'm proud of you. It's great to see the millions of lives that Mortgage Coach has impacted each year. And continued success. And I know we're going to collaborate around mastery pretty soon here. So thank you for the time.
Well, I loved collaborating with you today, and I loved learning from you today, like I always do. So guys, we hope you got value from this. Share this with your mortgage friends, share this with your real estate agents that you think are a good connection with you and with Todd and with me. Give this a like, and thank you for an hour of your time. We really appreciate it. This call is a wrap, and we will see you every Tuesday at 9, every Friday at 9. And remember, guys, we're doing black belt training every Wednesday at 11. One of our success managers is there to help you become a black belt in mortgage advice using Mortgage Coach. So check it out. Take care, everybody.
Hey, guys.